Golfers, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone had a great Christmas and a great New Year. I hope everyone's enjoying the indoor golf tips that I've been putting together over the last few weeks. Over lockdown, a lot of us will be sitting in this position. So it's my job to educate, let's say, you beginner golfers or you golfers that just need some assistance with your overall game, to try and take a couple of things from each video so you can improve, let's say, within your practice when we get the chance to actually access golf courses. And if you've got a net in the garden, absolutely brilliant, now's the time to put that in practice. If you decide to take a few minutes away from your computer if you're working from home and using the time wisely. So this is an online lesson overview that I had from earlier this week with a golfer, low handicap golfer, who is struggling with, let's say, position of the right elbow and downswing, how that's influencing not only the path of the swing but the flight of the golf ball. This golfer had an online lesson, and the tendency was this golfer got a little bit over the top, right elbow got a little bit stuck on the way back, and the tendency is this right elbow moves a little bit too much in front on the way down. But there is two problems that can occur from, let's say, if we were to talk about a golfer who struggles with a hook or a push, the tendency is they type of golfers they set up to the golf ball. You can see me from down the line here, and what happens is this right elbow is a little bit too low and a little bit too much behind the body on the backswing. So if you can see me from that position, that's my right elbow at kind of 9 degrees as I get to the top of the backswing. The tendency is when we take the club back, this golfer had a tendency of, let's say they got the right elbow a little bit stuck too much on the backswing. And the tendency from there is, if the right elbow was a little bit too low, we somehow have to get the club back on, let's say, playing the desired line that makes the strike more functional. So the tendency is we go a little bit low on the way back, right elbow gets a little bit too close to, let's say, my back. And from there, this golfer was doing two things. He was either going a little bit over the top, just to try and rescue the situation, rescue how the club get a little bit too far behind, or he was getting a little bit too much tilted forward, almost in this position. So he got a little bit stuck on the downswing, right shoulder gets a little bit stuck, right elbow gets a little bit stuck, just hips generally, so hips got a little bit close towards the target, right hip gets a little bit low, left hip gets a little bit high, and you've heard it before, the body stops turning, so the body pivot stops. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on a couple of things on a simple drill that we've used previous to our, let's say, our online lesson the other week. So this golfer, we have been working on the position of the right elbow. This golfer gets a little bit flat on the way back and it's a little bit steep on the way down, or gets a little bit too shallow. Depends how he matches up the club face with his body mechanics. So that's an important thing we need to focus on. Our matchups are very key. So the way that we match the club in relation to our body rotation and body pivot. So what all I said to this golfer was, what we need to do is we need to get the right elbow in a better position on the way back. That sounds so simple to put into practice, but golf is a complicated sport, and it's we get a little bit too much into the mechanics of the golf swing. We actually forget the easy part, which is hitting the golf ball. So I always think when I teach golfers who are, let's say, new to the game or really wanting to take up the game, I always think teach them just basics of hitting the golf ball, teach them basic body mechanics, and this is what I taught this golfer. So what we understood for this golfer is, I said to him, what you need to do is you need to feel like your right elbow is a little bit more higher on the backswing. Okay, so his right elbow is getting a little bit low on the way back. So what we talked about was we need to feel like our right elbow stays a little bit higher, which will sound a little bit awkward for a lot of golfers. What's going to happen is if we go right elbow low, the club gets really flat, and then it gets a tendency to get steep. But that golfer had a tendency of getting flat and steep. So when you feel like you're doing your right elbow stays a little bit higher on the way back, that's going to allow the club to work a little bit steeper on the way back. And the one thing we want you to do, so this golfer set up his hips kind of square, found it very hard to actually open his left hip up, and then his hips and his shoulders. Just so what we talked about was, what we're going to do is when we feel like we're hitting a basic pitch shot here. So he said, right, I can hit a pitch. So what he done was he set his lower body left, and from that position, all I said to him was, I want you to feel like on the way down, so your right elbow's set a little bit higher on the way back, it's keeping a little bit more connected to your body. But as we start down, I want you to feel like your right elbow works in front of your right hip. So that's the feel. Right elbow to right hip. And the other feeling we implemented was, obviously his right elbow, if you swing over the top, we internally rotate on the way down. That will seem a little bit more complex to somebody, but what we want to focus on, if we internally rotate, I want you to think about this right shoulder was a little bit too much in front, was a little bit out too early. So what we talked about was that we want to feel like on the way down, the club takes a little bit wider route on the way down, and see my right forearm, that has to point more towards the sky for longer. So this golfer swung over the top, on that position, right forearm points towards the ground, and that threw my forearms out of sequence, open up left. So what we're trying to do from here is, we're setting the club a little bit earlier, and then right elbow's a little bit higher. And all we're trying to do, lower body left, and the feeling is, the only move we're going to focus on is right elbow in front of right hip. Right elbow in front of right hip, and right forearm, so my right forearm, the middle of that has to point up towards the sky. That's going to allow this club to shell a little bit easier. It's going to allow the right elbow to work a little bit more effectively, as opposed to being stuck here, and then we'll have to stall our body pivot, flip the club through impact to actually square up. So I hope that makes more sense. So what we're trying to do is, the right elbow's a little bit higher on the way back, so not getting too low where we get a little bit flat. It's going a little bit steeper on the way back, that's the feeling. Right elbow sits kind of a little bit better position. And from there, our lower body left, that's the drill to focus on. And all we're trying to do is we're getting a right elbow in front of right hip. That's the only thing we've been thinking about. And the right forearm, that has to point up towards the sky. We don't want to get swinging over the top, where this kind of, it feels like the right forearm's twisted too much, it moves too much this way and points down towards the ground. So I want you to feel like when we're set up the ball, lower body left, that's just going to allow our hips to open slightly. Obviously we're pitch short, our lower body's a little bit preset left, which helps you turn through it. So lower body left, right elbow a little bit higher, and as we come back down, just feel like right elbow moves in front of right hip. That's the sequence feeling, and that's going to allow the club to shallow a little bit easier. It's going to allow the hips to open up slightly more on the way through, and then it's going to allow the right elbow to right hip, and then middle of my right forearms pointing towards the sky. That's the feeling. That's the feeling. Use that drill. Let me know your thoughts on that video. So remember, that golfer got the right elbow out position too early. If the right elbow gets out of position, we have to compensate or fight something against within our golf swing, trying to get the club on the desired plane. And also use that drill. Set up left with your lower body. Try and get the right elbow in front of right hip, in the middle of your right forearm pointing towards sky. That will sound a little bit complex to start off. What I want you to do is I want you to tackle it bit by bit. Over lockdown, use that practice indoors. You can use that indoors. As you can see, I'm indoors now. It's -10 outside. I'm not going outside now, it's too cold. If you like the videos, make sure you like the video. Thumbs up. The more thumbs up, the more traction this video can create, and the more people can view it. Also, what I want you to do is I want you to comment below with your thoughts on the video, of what you think of my videos over the lockdown, and what you want me to cover within my future videos. And also subscribe to the channel, share the video around if you like it, and we'll catch up soon later. Also, post your comments below with what you'd like to see on the channel in the future. Stay safe, take care, and we'll see you soon.